It had been 4 years since my grandmother succumbed to diabetes and all of the other complications that accompany the illness: heart disease, kidney failure, you name it. One summer day, as my mother and I sat on the porch, she said to me, "There isn't a day that goes by that I don't think about Mom." I looked at her, smiled reassuringly, and replied, "And you know that I miss her." Though she had not been with us physically for some time, the memories and her spiritual presence still remained within us and in our home. We had such a strong bond, just the three of us. Every chance that my mom and I had to talk her up, we made sure to take the opportunity. From the twinkle in her eye, to her sweet and sassy attitude, to her melodious southern accent, and most of all, her wisdom. Later on that night, after our conversation, it seemed I could not sleep peacefully. The cool summer breeze seeping through my windowsill wrapped around my figure. The wind intertwined between my body and my comforter as I restlessly tossed and turned from side to side. I wrestled with the covers, pulling them on and snatching them off, desperately trying to get comfortable and fall asleep. Finally, I rested my head on the pillow. It seemed as if my body had ascended to a higher place, but the wispy sound of the wind and the humid temperature made me aware that I was still on Earth. As I transitioned between these stages of sleep, I heard a familiar voice. "Hey, baby cakes!" "Baby cakes?" I whispered to myself. "Grandma?" I lifted my head from the pillow. Strangely, my bed was placed in the middle of the kitchen floor. My grandmother stood at the stove, dressed in all white with her silky wavy hair pulled back into a ponytail. She smiled with that twinkle in her eye and repeated, "Hey, baby cakes!" She had given me that nickname when I was a little girl. So in awe of seeing her walk around the kitchen and showing no signs of pain, I did not respond immediately. She was preparing a delicious Southern breakfast. The aroma of smoked maple bacon permeated the room and engulfed me. As the bacon and scrapples simmered, Grandma searched through the cabinets for seasonings to flavor her eggs and grits. She pulled the seasonings down and placed them atop the counter in the order that she'd need them. I finally snapped out of my state of disbelief and said, Hey, Grandma, do you need some help?" As I jumped up swiftly from the bed, comfortable in my pajama pants and tank top, she replied, "Yeah, baby, hand me those biscuits out the refrigerator." I proceeded to the refrigerator and grabbed the Grand's biscuits from the side door. I put them on the counter next to the plethora of seasonings. Grandma was throwing down. Underneath the counter, a small radio CD player projected the sounds of Marvin Gaye. It was my grandmother's favorite song, "Got to Give It Up." Now that Marvin Gaye knows he was a bad man. Man could sing. She started switching her hips a little back and forth to the right and left with the melody. I beamed from ear to ear watching her. She removed the breakfast meats from the hot oil and wrapped them in pieces of foil and paper towels to soak up the grease and to keep them warm. There was so much light penetrating from her, and a silver lining traced her silhouette. She was so beautiful. As she finished spraying a pan with nonstick spray, putting the biscuits in the pan and then in the oven, another Marvin Gaye song sounded from the CD player. This one was personally one of my favorites, too. The song was titled, "Come Get to This." Grandma said, "Oh, yeah," and turned up the volume. That means the song was really getting good to her. She grabbed my hand and we bopped together. It was a little hard keeping up with her. She was stepping and spinning. She seemed so in her element. doing all the things that I had never seen her do, all of the things the doctor said she would not be able to do again. Grandma sang and smiled with those high cheekbones, showing her glimmering gold tooth. She stared into my eyes while she and Marvin sang to me. Suddenly I felt myself transcend back to reality as my eyes began to tremor rapidly. I heard from a distance, "Mecca! Mecca!" The kitchen disappeared from around us, and all that was left was Grandma standing in front of me, holding my hand, still smiling. She quickly vanished, and left only her angelic smile embedded in my mind. "Mecca!" I heard again. The smell of hickory smoked bacon penetrated my nostrils, and I could hear the scrapple simmering in the pan. I slowly opened my eyes. The sun seeped through the blinds as the wind moved them back and forth. I hopped out of my bed and headed toward the window. I looked out at the blinds. The sun shined so brightly in the sky. It seemed as though the clouds had formed a silhouette of an angel. I felt my eyes begin to sting as they filled with tears. I let a few escape, but I managed to hold on to most of my tears. I whispered, "I know you're all right, Grandma." "Breakfast is ready." "Here I come, Mom."